Hello and welcome to today's Republican Voice. I'm Barry Greenspan. I'm the producer and host of the series. I'm a former member and former chairman of the Malden Republican City Committee, and I'm currently an associate member of the Medford Republican City Committee. On this edition, we'll be bringing you highlights of an event that took place in December 2010 at the Exchange Street Bistro in the city of Malden. The Asian Republicans of Massachusetts and their president, Joe Wong, held a reception for Joe's unrelated namesake, Donald Wong, who was a member of the Saugus Board of Selectmen and a newly elected member of the Massachusetts State House of Representatives. Donald Wong is one of the first two Asian Americans, both of Chinese descent, who were elected in November of 2010 to the House. Let's watch this video.
My name is Joe Wong, president of the Asian Republican of Mass. ARM, the right arm of the Republican Party in Massachusetts, honoring Donald Wong, our esteemed Donald Wong, for being the first Asian Republican and the first Wong. I guess in that case, I will have to take up the job of leading everybody in a toast to Donald. On behalf of the Wongs, on behalf of Asian Republicans throughout Massachusetts, and on behalf of Republicans of Massachusetts, I want to toast Donald for his successful election. Donald?
Hear, hear.
Ellen Filer, Donald's campaign manager. Next we have Paula. Matrinko. We have Mr. Dick Hersom, president of the Associations of Massachusetts Republican Cities and Town. Dick is a longtime supporter and a mentor for ARM. Then we have Mr. Sam Meir. I'm sure we will see Sam, much more Sam in the years to come. Okay, on this end we have Mr. Al Wong, Mr. Joe Simmons, Mr. Raymond Chin, Chinatown Legion Post, former Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association president, a longtime supporter of ARM as well, Mr. Robert Leung. We have Bill, I guess a good friend of Donald. We have Larry Wong. We have Mr. Michael Wong, president of the Wong Family Association. We have Mr. Wing-Kei Leung, the current president of the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association. We have Mr. Wan Wu. He is the current chairman of the board for the Quincy Asian Resource, Inc. We have Kayla here, daughter of Greer Tan Swiston, and then we have Greer Tan Swiston, and then Donald.
Yay.
Let me just start off by saying that senior can have many meanings. And in this context, I'm fortunate to be one of the more senior members of the Senate Republican caucus. But that is something that may be subject to change, because over the next couple of years we're going to work to have more and more members of the Republican Senate caucus, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about different levels of seniority as we move forward. But the main thing that we're here to talk about today is the fact that this was a very productive election season for the Massachusetts Republican Party. And of particular note is that in a time when there is so much challenge to operating state government, and when there are so many missteps being made on Beacon Hill, that the Republican Party offered hope of a different way of operating state government, a more practical way of operating state government, and one that operates efficiently and effectively and recognizes the priorities that people in the Commonwealth share, and operates to the extent of trying to displace the wasteful spending and inappropriate practices that have been happening for far too long. And aren't we lucky that we had great candidates that were out and able to articulate that message, and one of them in the form of Don Wong, which is what brings us here this afternoon. And I can tell you that I am particularly pleased to be here with all of you to celebrate Don's election and to anticipate his inauguration into the House of Representatives, which I believe will be on January 5th, and I know that he's getting ready for that, because each and every one of us knows, from whatever connection that we may have had with Don, that he is someone someone who's going to make a difference in the state legislature. He's going to make a difference because he understands the challenges of municipal government and what happens when state government doesn't support our municipalities properly, not only with spending, but also with tools to be able to achieve efficiencies and to be able to deliver on the goals that local government is mandated to achieve. But we also know that Don is a great individual. He's someone who understands how to build relationships and how to use those relationships to advance a positive agenda. He's done that in Saugus, and he's going to do that on Beacon Hill. And so we are very excited about him coming to join us. And Don is part of a much larger movement in which the numbers of the Massachusetts House Republicans doubled. And they doubled because there is an appetite among an informed electorate for the message that Don and others carried. And the need for that message and the need for those principles will continue well past Election Day as Don and all of his new colleagues in the House Republican caucus bring to bear on some very serious problems some very important principles. Principles like we ought to make sure that government operates as efficiently as possible. Principles like government ought to be transparent so people understand where their money is being spent. And principles like we ought to make sure that we have the kind of budgeting that doesn't presume we need to begin where we left off last year and add more money, but begin anew with understanding what an agency is supposed to do and to fund it accordingly. But you know what? There'll be plenty of time to talk about that as we approach the new year. Today is a time to talk about the fact that people worked very hard to get Don elected, that Don is going to represent us very, very well, and that most importantly, Don is going to make an incredible difference for the people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And along the way, he is going to bring another message with him. And that is the message that our party, as Republicans, is a party that's diverse, it's broad, it welcomes folks of various ethnicities, and in fact, it cherishes the experiences and the understandings that they bring to state government. And that's why it's important that we're here today on behalf of the Asian American coalitions in Massachusetts to say that we very much cherish your partnership in operating state government. And in fact, not only do we cherish it, we depend on it. And we're looking forward to expand that base in the years to come, to reach out the hand of partnership, and to remember always that together, regardless of where we come from or what we do, we can make a difference for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I am so proud to be here with someone who has symbolized that very message on behalf of the Republican Party in Massachusetts. Someone who took over as our chairperson at a very difficult time for our party, when frankly it was carrying a lot of debt. It didn't have a lot of efficiency in its operations, and it hadn't developed the kind of grassroots movement and effective message that we needed to win elections. And because she was elected to be our chairperson, all of that changed. And we now have a party that's on very stable footing, that has recruited candidates, is getting forward a message that resonates with the public every single day, and who speaks well to the fact that the Republican Party in Massachusetts is re-energized, it's reinvigorated, it's electing candidates like Don Wong, and it's going to elect a lot more. So I'm very pleased to introduce the chairwoman of the Massachusetts Republican Party, Jennifer Nasser.
It's great to be here today. It's great to be here for Donald, and it's great to be here with all of you. It's just so phenomenal to have him as one of the two first and the only Republican Asian state representative elect. And it just so wonderful for Massachusetts, so wonderful for the party, for Republicans as we're growing, and to watch where we've come and where we're going to. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of people near and dear to my heart in the room, but you have Dick Hersom over there, and Sam Mees, wonderful Sam Mees, and Greer Tan Switson, who's a great friend and someone who I value, and I hope to see her one day under that big golden dome as well. So we have, as Senator Tarr said, we've come a long way. When I started in January of 2009, we had debt, we had mice, we had infrastructure problems like you would read about, and we had to get the house fixed first. And I kept, every time I talked at the time, I said it's almost like taking an old house, tearing it down, and building up a new house. And you have to go block by block by block by block. And you can't build a brand new pretty house unless the foundation is solid. So we solidified our foundation. We went out, we held a bunch of grassroots forums we did 8 regional forums. We brought people in to tell us what they were mad about from before and where they wanted to see us going. And by the end of the forums, I said, no more talking about where we were. We're not looking in a rear view mirror anymore. We're only looking forward. We're driving this bus, get on the bus, let's all work together, and let's get people elected. Now, we had been losing for 20 years. 20 years we had been losing. That's basically half of my life. So that is really awful that we couldn't get anyone elected. And what we saw in 2008, there were 3 legislative seats that were open. All 3 seats were lost to Democrats. And I said, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to lose open seats anymore that were Republican seats. We're going to start winning. 1 person would be a win. 5 people would be phenomenal. Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we not only added 16 seats, we had 16, we added 16, but we won the 5 that were open seats. So we ended up netting 21 new Republican faces in the House of Representatives. And those applause are for all of you because you work so hard. And you know, it's just making sure that we continue to win. It would have been great to have had a congressman. It would have been great to have, or 9. It would have been great to have had a governor, a treasurer, an auditor. It would have been unbelievable, but it's Massachusetts, and we are blue, and we have to take baby steps, and we have to start by winning something. And if we won the governor's race and Donald wasn't elected, well then Charlie Baker would have had no help in the legislature. We needed to build up those legislative numbers. You know what, Deval Patrick is there for another 4 years. It stinks. No one likes it. I don't like it. You don't like it. But it is what it is. But what we do have are people like Donald who are now going to make his life miserable. And that to me is actually better. that to me is something that we should be really excited about, because now he's there and now he's going to have to look up, and every day he's going to have to say, my God, that Wong from Saugus drives me nuts. So it's a good thing, and we have lots of people like that all around the state that are just a breath of fresh air. They're new blood. And you know what, when I look at Donald, I don't just see a state representative-elect. What I see is a state senator. What I see is a congressman. What I see is a governor. I think it's something that we should all look forward to. We've got this new crop of people that were just elected to office, and we've got to cultivate their talents, make them go further and further and further. And so many of them have the same exact values as Donald and all of you. They work hard. They pay attention to their values, to their morals, to their communities, to their families. In Donald's situation and many others, they've been entrepreneurs. They care about business. They care about the impact of taxes on the community, how that goes to Greer's daughter and son and to my 2 girls, and what kind of impact that's going to have on the long term. We need more people like that elected to office. And so this was a great, great start. We have a ton of ground to cover. We have so much more we could do. I'm so happy because I think that this was an amazing learning experience for me. It was an amazing learning experience, hopefully, for all of you that were involved on the campaign. And I think for my staff and all the young people kind of coming up in this business, it was a great opportunity. 2010, just to go back, in January of 2010, January 19th, and by the way, I was scheduling something for January 19th of 2011. I'm going, what is that day? What is that day? Oh, why do I feel like there's something on that day? Oh no, that was 2010. Yes. That was the day Scott Brown was elected. So we started off with Scott Brown. Then we had our state convention in April. We had over 4,000 registered delegates at that convention. In 2006, there were only 1,300 registered delegates at the convention. In May of this year, I'm sure up here it's not as significant, but down in Rentham, where Scott Brown's state Senate seat was open, we elected a Republican, Richard Ross, who was a state representative, into the Senate seat. He won that seat by 67%, more than what Scott Brown had ever won that Senate